Hi everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Oluwatosin. I hope you've enjoyed my story of how God led me into teaching part one, where I spoke about how I was volunteering in church, I was happy working with teenagers, I went into school, and I was blessed experiencing what it felt like being in a UK school. My second part or part two spoke about my application process, how I applied to a training provider, and how the Department of Education helped me, and also how I got placed in schools. I think if you have any questions about any of the things I have spoken about, please just leave a comment and I will reply you. Moving on, let's talk about my school experience. So the school that I went to, my first school was in Clacton. So I was in that school from about September till about March. So my first 2 3 weeks I wasn't teaching. I just would follow my mentor around. So I had a mentor, and this mentor that I would follow around, I would observe her teach all the classes. So she was a business studies teacher, and she was also the head of the department at that time. So I would follow her around, watch her teach her classes, watch how she engages in conversation with the students. And after like 3 weeks, she started to tell me, okay, we would team teach. So she would teach, so she would start teaching, and then she would allow me take over the rest of the lesson. So that's how I was being trained to teach. And then after team teaching for a while, I started to teach on my own. After teaching on my own, then I started to get more classes added to my classes. So that was my teacher's training. So I'll put a picture here for you to see how I looked in September when I went into teacher's training, and also for you to see how I had changed by December. One of the things I found really, really interesting during teacher's training was the fact that I had to understand all my students, and all my students have diverse needs. So I had to spend a lot of time reading my students' profile, reading the information that has been given to me about them. I also had to add that to my lesson planning. So I had to plan my lessons from scratch. No resources was given to me. Every lesson I had to teach, I had to plan it. So I would go online, research about the topic, put everything in a PowerPoint. And then for most of my lessons, I had to do a lesson plan. Teachers training was a lot. It was a lot. It was tough. Outside of that, I also had to do my PGCE work. So my degree work, I had university like work. So I had to do like 5,000 words essay, 3,000 words essay, on top teachers, on top planning lesson, on top getting to know students. And every day, Monday to Friday, I had to go to school. At first, I was going to school like Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Monday, Tuesday, I would do uni work, and then they made me go in full time. By December of 2020, remember I started in September, I called my sister, God bless her. I said, I'm done. I no longer want to do this teacher's training. It's stressful. It's tiring. I was giving up because it is a lot. If you know anyone that has done teacher's training and you're a friend or you're a family member, anytime you see them, tell them well done. I told my sister, I said, I'm done. I no longer want to do it. She said to me, no, Tosin, don't give up. Carry on. You can do it. Just keep going. Don't give up. I remember calling her and she said, she just encouraged me so well that I carried on. 2021 January, guess what happened? COVID. We went into lockdown. I was like, Jesus, thank you. So from January to March of 2021, I was teaching online. I remember one day I was teaching online, and when I'm teaching online, I would call the student's name. So, for example, I'll say Peter, or I'll say like John. So I'll tell them, Peter, please, can you put a comment? Can you write a comment in the chat box? I remember teaching online, and a class of maybe like 8 or 10 of them. I said, for example, Peter, please, can you put a comment in the chat box based on what I'm saying? Peter, no answer. 1 minute, no answer. I called him. 2 minutes, no answer. 3 minutes. So I had to continue my lesson, but Peter had gone off. Those are one of those interesting moments about online teaching. So my teacher's training was a blend of in-person teaching, but also online teaching. So by March, we started to prepare to go back into school because COVID had now sort of gone around that time. So I had to go back to school, but then I had to change school. So with teachers training, you don't stay in the same school. And the reason why I had to change school was because my subject is business studies. My subject is not maths or English. So they had to take me to another school to experience teaching business studies. This time around, they took me to two schools. They said, we can't put you in one school because one school can't offer you all the experience you need. You need to go to school. So the first school I went to was a sixth form school, and then the second school I went to was a school that was offering business from year 9, year 10, year 11. So that was my experience. So moving into two schools again was a lot. It was tough. I started all over again, getting to know these children, reading their profiles. I started all over again, planning my lessons. And then in the first school, I had a mentor. In the second school, again, I had a mentor. So I had two mentors. So in total of my teacher's training, I had three mentors. Most people probably had two, but I had three mentors because they had to take me to three different schools. So it was a lot, but thank God I went through everything. Towards the end of June, that was when teacher's training finished. You have to show a lot of evidence. You have to show evidence of this, evidence of that. So I had to put all my papers together just to show that I have passed the standard. And to the glory of God, I finished. I finished my teacher's training and I got my QTS, and I was so, so, so happy. And then I remember around that time, people were saying to me, "Oh, Tosin, what are you going to do now? Are you going to apply to start teaching?" I was like, no, because I was so tired. I was so exhausted. Look at my picture at the end of teacher's training. Look at the Tosin who went into teacher's training. Look at the Tosin who came out. Teacher's training changed me. It transformed me. I even lost a tooth in the process of teacher's training. It was a lot too. I remember coming back home every day after work. I'll get home like 4 o'clock. All I did was just carry my laptop, sit down, and just keep planning lessons. Sometimes I'll plan lessons till about 10, 11. I'll fall asleep. Sometimes I'll wake up at 4 o'clock and I'll just continue planning lessons, get a shower, and go out. It was a lot. It was full time. But you see, one thing I want to say is that part of teaching, I didn't experience that part. Remember my first video ever when I said, oh, I went into a school, I was so excited to see the children. You see this part I'm talking about whereby you have to work long hours. I didn't see that part that day. I wish that day that I went into school, that teacher sat me down and said, all this you're seeing is just 20% of our job, or 80% of our job is after school or before school. So I had that lifestyle of just working. I will work Saturdays, I will work Sundays. If I go out on Sunday, if I go to church and I come back, all I just did was do a lot of work. It was full on for me, but I really thank God that I finished my teacher's training. Not only did I finish, I also got my QTS because I did not immediately apply for teaching jobs. No, I just said, you know what, I need to rest. So that same June, July, I found a job. I found a job with a recruitment company. So I started to work with recruitment. On my social media, so if you've been following me on Instagram and you're here, you're welcome. You will notice that I sort of stopped posting. And I stopped posting because there was just a lot about teaching that they said, oh, as teachers, you have to lock your social media account. Aside from locking your social, you have to lock your social media account. So locking my social media account, I didn't really feel like I wanted to be posting things there anymore because it's locked. So anybody that is seeing it is the people that have been following me for a while. And then they say, oh, you agreed to the contracts that your social media must be locked. And that's because these children, they will find you. Hey, they will go and find you. And when they find you, they will follow you. Not only will they follow you, they will get other people to follow. When I mean other people, other children to follow you. I don't want to jump ahead of myself, but I remember I think it was October 2023, one of my students came into the class and said, Miss, we saw you on TikTok dancing. Huh? You saw me on TikTok dancing. I was not dancing. I mean, I was just like, you saw me on TikTok dancing. No, I was not dancing. It was just a video whereby I just turned around. They said we saw you dancing. I said, what does that mean? So I then understood why they said, oh, lock your social media account and all. So it's not like I stopped posting if you're here from Instagram. I think what happened was actually I just got to that place whereby I was so busy and I didn't really feel the need to post. So that's why I've sort of been quiet or silent on my social media account. I hope you enjoyed this episode of me talking about becoming a teacher, the workload, and everything I had to do during my teacher's training. I hope to see you in the next episode. Thank you very much.